Hi, welcome to our next Nameless character introduction. Up now we've got Han, who plays Gideon. Say hello, Han.
Hello, Han.
Everybody's done that.
Sorry.
It's fine.
It's just, you set it up. It's right there.
It is right there. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so you've been playing Gideon for a while now. This is not a new character. You've had her for quite a long time. So if you can cast your mind back to when you first created Gideon, what was the inspiration behind making her our best emo friend ever?
Well, I always create characters by picking the class and subclass first, which I know is a little bit backwards compared to how other people do it. And I was coming into Nameless a little bit after you guys had got started, so it was partly about picking a class that was... It wasn't a class that anybody else was playing, and it would kind of fit in. So I think when I joined, we got Rogue Ranger, Fighter, Monk, Bard. Mm-hmm. So I felt like we needed more magical firepower. So I was kind of torn between Sorcerer and Wizard, and then I was still a little bit newer to playing D&D, so I thought Wizard might be a bit more complicated, so I went with Sorcerer, basically because I saw the Shadow Sorcerer subclass and was like, I absolutely need to make a little goth emo Sorcerer. So once I'd seen that subclass, I was just like, right, I can work with this. And basically when I was a kid, I was a bit of a gothy emo kid, so just went back to what I knew, went back to my roots, and was like, I can absolutely do something with this.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned you've mentioned to me before, and I don't know if you've mentioned it on the podcast as well, actually, that Gideon changed slightly from the concept that you had for Gideon to how you ended up playing Gideon.
Yeah. So part of the problem, and this is like a problem of my own creating, I would say, is that when we talked about me joining Nameless, I very much kind of created Gideon in a vacuum, which is probably not the best way to go about doing things. So I was like, oh yeah, she's going to be kind of gothy and emo and a little bit brooding, and she's got this tragic backstory. And then I kind of got to the first Nameless session, and that was very much not the vibe of Nameless.
Definitely not.
So I was like, yeah, this character, she could have been like that, but it would have felt like, as a new person coming in, that it was going to make, like, it was possibly adding kind of like drama into the game. And if she was going to be kind of standoffish with people, that's not a really great way to come into a new game, to be like that as a character. So I kind of changed how I thought about it, so that I kind of kept the same backstory, but just kind of thought a little bit differently how that might have affected her. So she became a bit more like, kind of uses jokes to kind of keep a little bit of distance between her and people. So like all the pranks that she plays on Endo and stuff like that. And then, yeah, she's still got her kind of gothy emo aesthetic, and love of all things shadowy and bony.
Yeah, anything skeletal she's all about.
Yeah. But yeah, just not quite as much of a as much of a downer as she could have been.
Okay, so talking about her kind of emo gothy aesthetic, where did your inspiration come from for the look of Gideon?
I don't know. I mean, people may have guessed this who've read the books, but she is kind of based on a character that I adore from a series of books called The Locked Tomb by Tamsin Muir. And anybody who has read those books will probably know that Gideon looks a little bit like Harrow, who is one of the main characters in those, but actually has the name of another character from that series, because I thought I can't turn up with a character. I'm terrible at thinking of names, so I often steal names from things.
Okay.
But I was like, I can't bring a character who kind of looks a bit like a character from a book and is also named after them. So I pitched a different name. But yeah, so it's partly that. I think I was just reading one of the books at the time when I was invited to join Nameless, so it was kind of right there, and I ran away with it. But and then the other is just that, as I say, when I was like a teenager, that was very much my vibe, and I was, yeah, that kind of, halcyon early 2000s like period when emo was just becoming a thing. That is kind of who I was. So I was like, fits the subclass, it fits kind of the backstory. That's what I'm going to go for.
Awesome. Okay, so backstory. Tell us a little bit. You don't have to go massively into detail, but a little bit about the backstory of Gideon for people that haven't actually heard that before.
Okay, so sorcerers' whole thing being that they have innate magical ability. Whenever I'm creating a character, I always like to think about how they got their powers, whatever those powers are, or their skills, or wherever that came from. So I thought it would be a little bit interesting if she kind of wasn't actually born with those powers, but so the backstory that I kind of wrote was that her parents were both sorcerers probably, or had some kind of innate magical ability. When Gideon was born, she didn't show any of that. And her parents kind of couldn't accept that. They didn't understand why they hadn't got a magical child. So they conducted some kind of ritual to try and, I don't know, pass on the magical essence or infuse Gideon with magical energy. Something went wrong along the way. Something, I don't know, I kind of always think like maybe they accidentally somehow like opened a portal to the Shadowfell or something, and that's where the kind of shadow magic came from. And yeah, Gideon kind of like saw flashes of the Shadowfell and all these kind of awful things, and when she woke up, her parents were dead. Whatever had happened had killed them, but that kind of like undead death kind of shadowy energy had transferred into her. And then she just kind of ran away from that because she didn't want to deal with it. And she'd been drifting around doing kind of odd jobs and stuff, and then basically came to Nameless after something to make a bit of money.
And now she's the leader.
The charismatic and handsome leader.
Yes, charismatic and handsome leader. Okay, well, on that note then, let's meet our charismatic and handsome leader of Nameless with some questions, if you're ready, Gideon.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, Gideon, what's your favourite word?
I'm going to say nope, because it always gets me out of danger.
Nope. Okay. All right. What's your least favourite word?
Could it be like two words, maybe? Like 2 words?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna say manual labour, and that's why we have endo.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I don't really like, I guess, like kind of being turned on or off isn't really my like thing, but why do I get out of bed in the morning? Well, I guess my magic kind of burns bright and burns quick, so I like to throw things around and see what happens. A little bit of chaos, maybe letting loose. The freedom, I guess, all those adventures I get to go on. Started it to earn a bit of coin, but I guess that's not really me anymore. I guess I didn't really have many friends before I came to Nameless, and now I kind of do, so maybe it's them. But please don't tell Endo. God, that's so embarrassing.
No. I was expecting you to say oink fat, so that's... I definitely won't tell Endo.
I mean, oink fat is very special to me, of course.
Of course. And what turns you off?
Probably like when we've been out in the world being big, brave adventurers somewhere, and we quite often seem to come across creatures or animals that are just all alone and or kind of, not being looked after properly. So yeah, I don't like that very much. I think they're much better off with us at the HQ, like Rubik's or Ink Fat.
Yeah, I'm not sure Talisker would agree. Moving on, what is your favourite curse word?
Well, I mean, I don't really like to swear unless the situation like really warrants it. But if the situation's pretty dire, I mean, the only correct answer is fuck, right?
Yep, that is a solid answer. I think we've had that answer from someone else as well. So yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
Crackle of lightning, or maybe Tide playing their pipes.
Oh, poor Tide. Okay. And what sound do you hate?
Waves, the ocean.
Really? Is there a reason?
Well, you know what happened the last time we were at sea.
Rip Airdrie.
Indeed.
And what profession other than your own, I guess, which is adventurer? You're an adventuring group, so yeah, I guess you're an adventurer. What other profession would you like to attempt?
Be like really good, like really, really good at like. I mean, it still technically would be like an adventurer, but I think that it was like a specialization that I would be a really good necromancer.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not a great profession to go into, but yeah, I can see you being good at it.
I mean, for like, good reasons. I wouldn't like. It would just be, like I could have like skeletons that could do helpful things, maybe.
Yes. Okay. And what profession would you not like to do?
Oh, whatever Endo is.
Is Endo not an adventurer like yourself?
No, it's like way different.
Oh, of course, because he's not the charismatic and handsome leader.
Well, yeah, and also like, I'm also very wise, so like I stay back and do like ranged attacks, but Endo's always like in the thick of everything.
That's okay.
Dangerous.
So you don't want to be up front. You don't want to get in handsy with them.
No, definitely not.
Okay. And if you were to go to heaven or to the afterlife, what would you like to hear your God say when you arrive?
You have to say anything. It's not like we're really. I'm not sure that I really, believe in kind of a specific god or like. I mean, the gods, I kind of get that they're like a thing, but that's not really my thing. But it'd be nice if you got there and like Adri was there and my family and anybody else from Nameless that had died before me, I guess.
Okay, so it's not so much you want them to say something, it's just you want people to be waiting for you.
Yeah.
That would be nice. And kind of a sad way to end the little questions there, but yeah.
Sorry. I mean, but like, everybody could have a really nice and fulfilling life and just die peacefully of old age.
Yes. And then they're just happily waiting for you after you've died of old age as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. That's more positive. Well, on that kind of slightly depressing note, thanks, Gideon.
Free.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.